Hello everyone. Today, Drive Canada is live again. Assalamu alaikum хаммаге. Здравствуйте всем. Сегодняшнее наше интервью будет на английском языке. O'zbek tilida ham aytib o'tdi. Bugungi intervyuimiz ingliz tilida bo'lib o'tadi. Shuning uchun hamma nimani ingliz tilida olib boramiz. Greetings and welcome to Drive Canada. We're hosting interview with an important guest, successful IT professional, Miradham Kamilov today. Quickly, a brief introduction about Drive Canada as usual. In Drive Canada, we strive to help people across the world with first-hand information about Canada, life in Canada, immigration to Canada, and all related to that. In connection with these efforts, we invited to our live interviews Miradham, so we can learn about IT profession in Canada. Today's topic will be the state of modern IT tech talent acquisition in Canada. What giant companies like Amazon, Apple, Google usually look at when hiring young IT professionals these days. So continuing that, I wanted to also give a brief introduction about Miradham. So his work experiences, he's currently working as software engineer at Amazon and cloud services division, Amazon Web Services in Canada, starting from 2019. Prior to this, he worked for another large technology company, Samsung, as software engineer in Korea from 2010 and 2019. His education, he graduated bachelor's in telecommunication from Tashkent University of Information Technologies in 2017. Then he did his master's science in computer science from Konkuk University, Seoul, Korea in 2019. And he did a couple of internships, research. He did an internship 2005, 2007 in the UNDP in the program ICTP. And he contributed to Korea Electronics Technology Institute, performing research function between 2009 and 2010. So that was a brief introduction. And I would like to give a word to Miradham, and so we start with a question. If I give him a few words to just say greetings, and then I'll jump to the questions. Hi, Miradham.
Hey, thank you, Rinat. Thank you, Uzbek, for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to talk to you and share my own experience. Some of my thoughts about all these IT and industry trends recently.
Great, thank you so much. And of course, I try always not to forget. Drive Canada always represented by myself and Azbegika here. So we will moderate today's interview and try to ask nice, wonderful questions from Miradham so we can get as much as in more information for you folks to learn about IT. So I'll start with the first question. It's a very simple one, and I guess it will be also interesting for the people who are listening to us to learn about this. What part of Uzbekistan are you from? What family did you grow up in? Tell us about your first student days in Uzbekistan. So basically your life in Uzbekistan and a little bit of your background.
Yeah, sure. Well, I am from Tashkent. Well, very geographical, very physically. We are like I grew up in the area very near to Tetaze.
Okay.
And yeah, our very specifically, like our house is located in Kibrai district.
Got it.
And yeah, initially my very first years, I started my school in the same Kibrai district, and my first kind of introduction to the PC as well was in the same school.
I see.
Yeah, it was very old PCs from I don't remember exactly, but yeah, some Soviet Union PCs, very old without any mouse even.
Oh,
Yeah, it was very fun to have very first experience there.
did you play any games, or was it very basic stuff?
Oh, it was both games and some programming as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, in terms of games, there was some shooting games, some Moon Patrol, I can recall, and also I can recall some karate games.
Great.
Yeah, and in terms of programming, it was like very basic Q. The language was Q
Hmm.
basic, and the operating system was DOS, disk operating system.
Such a good memory. You still remember even the programming languages. That tells about yourself, that what kind of person that you liked it from the start, I believe.
Maybe it was a lot of fun to to be introduced and to have a chance to very closely to work with all these PCs. And I think yeah, the teacher of mine, he was I think he treated me very well in terms of he trusted me, and sometimes
Hmm.
I had to stay after school and do some cleanup and fixing things for
That's
those
awesome.
PCs.
That's awesome. So I asked about your family as well. Do they there are there also in the IT? Did they motivate you in this, or they're in other areas?
Well, my boss parents are educated. My dad, he is engineer by
Hmm.
his education, and my mom, she's I think she's also like technically she is engineer,
Hmm.
but both my mom works as a teacher,
Hmm.
and my dad he's he's in business. Initially, he worked as an engineer, but yeah,
Hmm.
during 90s he switched to business, and yeah, currently he does business.
I
And
see.
yeah, I think both of them, and I'm very thankful to my parents, by the way, because yeah, I think my very first introduction to the world, my very first interests, I think they were nurtured by their effort. My interest in math, physics, I
Hmm.
think those they come from them.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that makes conclusion that you have a technical mindset that helps you with your career path, I believe, that you take it after your parents most of the.
Mm, maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah, when I was I switched my school when I have graduated eighth grade, and when I was graduating 11th grade, I
Hmm.
like there was some choice right between like whether I want to go to some economical or humanitarian
Hmm.
major, or whether I want to go to some technical major.
I see.
And yeah, I was very leaning towards the technical.
Hmm.
And at that time trend was very I believe very humanitarian. Like I can recall that a lot of my classmates or like people the same age, and especially even at the universities in Uzbekistan, there was like the trend was everyone wants to go and study economy or management. And yeah,
Absolutely.
I didn't really have any idea or like reasoning in terms of, hey, why do we want so many economists or management people?
Exactly. Exactly. I guess you were thinking right way. I have a quick question about learning languages. When did you start, and did you like more English, or I know that your background that you also studied and I guess learned Korean too. So how your path started with languages? When did you learn it?
Well, yeah, my dad, he always encouraged me to learn English. I think I started like my very first learning English, I don't know, maybe at the elementary school, but it was like very, words like chicken, I don't know, like egg
Mm,
and stuff like that.
mm-hmm,
Um, yeah, and once I switched my school, started from ninth grade,
mm-hmm,
I started learning English more intensively.
mm-hmm,
My class was so-called bank class.
mm-hmm.
I think that those were sponsored by. some bank or banking association of Uzbekistan.
I see.
And we had extra curriculum, which includes English, math, and some economy basics.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much for this short introduction. And I guess I will give the floor to Azbeka.
Well, you have traveled to several developed countries and in search of education and career paths, including career in Canada. Why did you choose Canada for permanent residence and for your career? Okay, and please tell us also your first experience on arrival in Canada, right? And what did you like in Canada, and what do you dislike it?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think it's a very specific question. And yeah, as you already have mentioned, I spent quite long period in South Korea. Working for big tech company, and yeah, things was quite nice, right? Like, I mean, like I have my job, I have my family there with me. I know all these people, but in longer term, in the perspective, like what's going to happen in 10 or 15 years, like I always had some questions, and those questions were without answers when I was tying myself to South Korea, right? So yeah, and yeah, the interest was, hey, I need to switch country, I need to go somewhere else. And there were a few opportunities going back to home country as well. But yeah, I was more like sticking to move to some other country. That could be Europe, that could be Australia, that could be Canada. And because of a few reasons, right? Like though I believe each of these countries, regions, they have their own pros and cons, and based on my some research, based on some expectation or assumptions, Canada had slightly more scores, I guess, right? Like if I would
100% agree with you.
Yeah, if I would score all these like Australia, EU, and Canada, like Canada has slightly more scores, and then I decided, okay, I should focus on Canada. And yeah, I also like there was like, of course, there was opportunity. Hey, I can apply for Canadian PR, like collect all these documents. But at the same time, I was realizing, hey, if I can, so-called sell myself to some company, right, in a proper way, if I can prove that, hey, I can contribute to some specific companies in Canada, that would be a lot easier. And yeah, I think that was my kind of focus. I was working hard, studying basics again, to be able to get a job offer from a Canadian company. And yeah.
So it means that you were invited, right, by the employee, and then you go for the permanent residency, right?
Yeah, that's right. Basically, when I was in South Korea, there was opportunity. Amazon was hiring employees from South Korea. There was an interview process. It was pre-COVID times, right? Like when the interviews happened in person.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're really lucky.
And how was your first, what was your first experience or like impression when you just, landed to Canada? So what was your like?
Well, it was very specific, I guess. It took a while to adapt, because it's like 10 or I think it's 16 hours of difference, so means 8, either 16 hours of time difference. So it took a while to adapt in terms of jet lag. It took a while to adapt in terms of culture, because it's Asia and West. It's completely different, right? And yeah, like even in my team, in my company, like I started working after, I think, 7 or 8, 10 days after arrival. like initially it was everything was very smooth, but in the longer term, to feel myself like very own, right, in the team or even in the country, I think I'm still learning, right? I'm still trying to adapt. I'm still learning from my colleagues, from people around me. Um, yeah, yes. I'm not sure if I have answered to your
Yeah,
question, but
absolutely.
the impression was, yeah, things are very different, and I need some time to adapt. Yeah, in short, I think.
And the last question, I mean, from this series, what did you dislike more and like more in Canada? You know.
So I like nature here. I like
Mm.
space, right? It's a lot of trees. It's a lot of green grass, right? And a lot of space. Uh, like because like, and I'm comparing it with South Korea, of course, right?
Hmm.
Um, so because South Korea is very dense, like there are a lot of people. It's a very small country, so basically there are even you go outside of the downtown, like there is no anything like downtown thing, right? In South Korea, like everywhere, all of them are high rise buildings. Like I lived in 20th floor, I lived in 18th floor, so it's like everything is high rise. Like there is no any house, right? Like you have to be really super rich, like I don't know, top 1% or maybe even top 0.5% of people, or even less than that, they can have their own houses, I believe,
Hmm.
and the rest is they live in the apartments in the high-rise buildings.
That's
And
that's
yeah,
interesting.
like another interesting thing is like you see some green area in the road, right, between lanes. There is some green area, and also there is some green area. You go outside of the building, there is some green area, and then trottoir, and there is some other green area, and then the road itself, right?
Oh,
So it means there are a lot of space in Canada, right? And you can see that in South Korea, definitely.
true.
Yeah, true.
What I don't like, okay, it's less technological. Like Canada is definitely like it's beyond the South Korea. It's like the service level in South Korea. It's far in front of Canada. Right? Like the banks, food. I don't know, some other social or government services. They're a lot faster, a lot better compared to Canada. And yeah, it was kind of also cultural shock at some point. Like I was
Mm.
like, why it's not being solved so long? It's been a while. Like, and in South Korea there's a concept pali pali, like meaning like fast. Like it's not only fast, right? Like it's like fast, like twice fast. So things are done in very in a fast way, and I think this was kind of not really shocking me, but yeah, kind of the questioning me, hey, why
Mm.
things are different, right? And yeah, and when I used to go to Uzbekistan from South Korea, the difference was like, hey, there is a big difference. But when I go from Canada to Uzbekistan, it's the difference does not feel that much, I think,
Mhm.
comparing to yeah, South
I
Korea.
see. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing your experience about that. And if I follow up with the next question, um, I guess that would be about your job with Amazon. But I wanted to make a small disclaimer, as whatever we're discussing here is just your personal experience, and it's not anything that you're disclosing about specific about Amazon, which you asked us, and just wanted to make that small disclaimer. So, and then if I come to the question, can you tell us a little bit about your current job at Amazon and share a little bit of your experience, impressions of working and living in Asian country and a Western country? But you already made a comparison. If you can make your job comparison, then because you worked in Samsung, which is a huge company for eastern part of our world, and then Amazon, of course, is a giant in the western part of our world, right? So if you can make comparison in terms of a job, and then if you give your experience and impressions about Amazon, I guess it's really interesting for everyone.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great to work for Amazon in short. So just wanted to highlight one point before going into details. Like I worked for Samsung as a Android developer. Right? Like I was working at a very uh, Android operating system. Right? We used to change the operating system code, adapt it for Samsung devices. So everything was like in the operating system. And in Amazon, I work in the back end. Like I work for web services. I develop mostly backend services, right? So meaning when I switch it my company, my country, the culture and everything, I also at the same time I little switch my job, like my area of expertise, right? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so just yeah, from that perspective, I would say things went quite smooth, right? Because there are a lot
Mm-hmm.
of learning opportunities on Amazon, right? There are, and I'm not even sure, like say I would have the same experience if I would switch from Amazon to Samsung, right? Because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, this
I
it's
see.
different. It's different. It's definitely different, as you also highlighted. It's Asian country. The approach is more like top down, right? Like so
Mm.
usually the project or specifications like how things should be done or like the design, the system designs, things like that, they are kind of predefined, right? Like so,
Mm.
depending on your level, of course, right? Like if you are more senior, what you do is like, hey, you define what should be done, and probably you will be working on that, or you'll be sharing this job with more junior engineers in Samsung, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
what I want to say is like, so it's more top-down approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you and usually juniors they don't challenge much in terms of,
I
hey, is
see.
this the right approach,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they just do what basically
It's
whatever they're
style
told.
of management, basically, right?
Maybe, yeah, and yeah, just wanted to highlight again, it's my own experience, right? That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling is like based on my own experience, and I don't want to say, hey, this is the wrong one, but
Mm-hmm.
this is working approach, right? Because Samsung is a huge company. It's
Exactly.
top, I don't know, top 10 brands in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
it's super cool to work for Samsung as well. Like I enjoy it. Just wanted to highlight, hey, it is different here in Amazon,
Mm.
right? So
Just the
here,
difference. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
here you are more challenged, right? Like even in almost in every single of code line that I write, and maybe at some point I might have to explain, hey, why I put this line in this way in my code, right? Like meaning
Mm-hmm.
code reviews or peer reviews or even the work process itself. It's more interesting, I would say, and it gives more opportunity to grow professionally as well as personally.
Mm-hmm. So you challenge yourself, you turn on your critical thinking machine every day, and you come and you think like, oh, today's going to be totally new day where I'm going to be discussing this cool new feature, right? Or this code that we developed, like all
Yeah,
of this, right?
yeah.
It, uh,
So
it is impressive, yeah.
yeah, like I write few lines of code and I need to raise that code review, right? And before clicking that button, right, like I say, hey, is everything fine? I just go and review the code myself, like first, right? Like before asking my peers to do that, because my peers they might find some problems, or they might be asking some questions there, right? So that
Yeah,
I need to have those questions, like answers to those questions in advance, so that I can prove my work is the right one.
that's incredible. I really like it. Thank you for comparison and that the pieces and parts that you liked and you disliked in some parts and sharing your experience, which is really good. And I believe this part was more personal about yourself. And then we wanted to switch to our main topic today, which I shared at the beginning, and I want to share again. So today we're talking about state of modern IT tech talent acquisition in Canada, and thanks to you that you're working Amazon, we could learn at least the perspective and what the giant companies like Amazon, Apple, Google usually look at when hiring young IT professionals these days. So, and if I switch to the first question that I wanted to ask you, IT and tech industry is booming and will continue on such a path for a certain period of time, for sure. How do you see the future, especially for software engineers, in the coming decades? So what do you think about it? And I'll leave this question on the screen. So if you want to come back to this to think through when you're responding, you can do that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. I see the question on the screen too. Yeah, just wanted to say that I don't want to predict, right? Like, I mean, like, I don't want to predict very specific things, because I might be wrong, I might be right. So I don't want that, and just wanted to say that I think like engineering as such, it's always in high demand. It will be in high demand, and specifically software engineers, they yeah, it's booming, and it's been a while, right? Like, I think it's been like 5 to 7 years already, that the world needs engineers, like software engineers, data science designers. Like, as you mentioned, the IT tech industry is booming, and I believe like for the next 5-10 years, it's definitely going to stay same, or if not longer, right? Of course, there are going to be some changes in the different trends. Say there will be some new languages, there will be some new technologies. Like, for example, these days we are talking a lot about machine learning and AI, also blockchain technologies,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And after 5-10 years, there will be some new technologies, some new trends there, where the industry will need very specific specialists, professionals, to solve very specific needs, business requirements of its own time.
Okay. So you strongly believe that it will continue developing, and it will, at least for a certain period of time, it will go this way, with some changes in the future, right?
Yeah.
So I have really good follow-up here, and I guess it's ironically, I came up after you told me that you are challenged that every day at work to create more good things, right? So that critical thinking, I just wanted to challenge you a little bit, and that you think critically and then respond me now. So I read a news a couple of weeks ago that says that Alphabet, which is Google, created a machine learning, or like the bot that already can write a sophisticated codes, and then it creates software very well, which can replace any like even sometimes the senior level software engineers, and they can write very sophisticated codes. So if that is started to like that we're reading it today, do you think that will replace the software engineers career, as we had with the typers, right? Like the people who typed, they were very well paid, and they thought that they have a job, and at some point they understood that no one needs any more typers, right? So what do you think? Is that going to be like this? Is that going to change, and then this robots basically will take your place? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question, and yeah, I have seen that news as well, and we're talking about so-called revolutionary news, not only right now, right? I can recall that 5 or 7 years ago, I was debating with few of my friends about 3D printers, right? Like, so because like we were like, hey, those 3D printers, they're going to change a lot of things. Like, it's going to be revolutionary. Like, people are going to have their I don't know, like their organs, right? Like their, I don't know, their, for example, their ears, their, or even maybe their heart or their parts of bodies printed in the 3D printer, and it's, I don't know, like, so that's the point. Like we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? And what I wanted to highlight again, there will be changes. Like personally, I don't believe the specific AI is going to replace a lot of engineers. I believe there still will be demand for the engineers in a 5 or 10 years period. Even if AI is going to take part of the job, there will be some demand for the engineers to take care of about those AIs even. Right?
So it is like you want to say this is a new product, and then you still need people who work for that new product. That means another type of new professions develop, and then
Yes.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
you see, and we can make a very good conclusion as Vika that Miradham had very good positive critical thinking turned on, that he responded so well that Amazon is like it's working. So it is good company that motivates people. Thank you for good response there. Insightful response. And I guess at this good point, I'll give a floor to Azbek for the next interesting question.
Okay. So, well, it was very interesting question and answer. So my next question is about what are the advantages or disadvantages of the Canadian tech market for young IT professionals and for young startups?
Okay. Yeah, I think the biggest advantage of Canadian tech market is being lucky to have such a nice neighbor in the south.
So work for the South, right?
Yeah. Basically, yeah, a lot of like, I think we need to admit that US is mostly driving all these industry boom and all these business requirements, all this need for the software developers and so on, right? And even yeah, I can say even more. Maybe U.S. companies or people in U.S. that are so-called founders. Like if you just look at any, I don't know, modern technology or modern even languages like Java, C++, they're mostly developed by U.S. Companies or people who works for those U.S. companies, right? And and yeah, because of some reasons there, right? Like, and Canada has very good conditions, very good infrastructure, so that it can attract both professionals and companies to Canada, so that they can cooperate, right? Like the companies, they establish their offices, their branches in Canada, and at the same time they can hire internationally and invite young professionals to work for US based companies, literally saying.
So actually, Canada serving like a backyard of the US, right? That sort of things.
Well, yeah. At some point, probably we can say so. Yeah,
Oh,
because yeah, as I mentioned, the basic drive is coming from US.
yes.
Of course, there are a lot of very nice startups, very nice technology companies that are originally from Canada as well. And but at the same time, I don't really believe that those Canadian companies, they really drive much all these big, huge requests for the young professionals, right? Yeah, and maybe that could be a disadvantage at some point, right? I'm not sure if at some point, say, there will be some changes in the US. I'm not sure. I don't want to predict it again anyway. But at some point, US can be, yeah, I think it's still more attractive in terms of paycheck, right? In terms of having more opportunities, in terms of like having like because you like not all U.S. companies, they are opening their branches in Canada, right? So basically, if a young professional is working, is already in the U.S. and working for U.S. company, they definitely have more opportunities to have better salary, or to work on more variety of products, right? That could be kind of one disadvantage of the Canada. But at the same time, I believe that Canada is using the opportunity that they have in a right way, right? So they're providing they're providing chance for both these companies and young professionals to come to Canada and cooperate to achieve their own goals.
Great. If I follow up with really relative question to this, because I'm sure it will be interesting. Let's switch to those large companies, and because their presence are in Canada. And the question relates, do you think large companies like Amazon, Apple, Google, and others are hiring in Canada as it is convenient here and cheaper here, or like or some convenience for that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is more convenient in terms of visa and immigration, right? Because everyone wants to go to US, everyone wants to work in the US, and those companies, they would be hiring professionals in the US as well if they had, if they would meet all these requirements, right? But it's not, right? Like I know that the H-1B visa in US, right? It's issued for young professionals, including who wants to work for those big companies. It's like it's crazy, right? Like a lot of people, I think it's 10-1 or 15-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? There are a lot of people who applies, and only few of them they can be approved and they can get the visa, right? And the rest, they just below the bar, right? They cannot they cannot go to US, and what they can do is maybe working remotely or come to Canada, right? It's a lot easier. Canadian government gives this opportunity, and I know that they have very specific programs. As far as I know, there are specific programs for US companies. It's not like US companies, but for companies who wants to hire in Canada, they can get specific permissions and paperwork within very short period of time, like a few weeks or maybe or even few days.
Okay. And quite related to this question, do you think Canada attracted more such companies to hire in Canada during the pandemic, as everyone switched to remote work? And you mentioned about remote work. Do you think that additionally helped these companies to hire in Canada during pandemic, as they still always needed more resources all the time?
That's a good question. That's a very good question, and I think the answer is yes and no at the same time, right? No, why no is that it's a remote work, right? It's basically remote means remote, right? Like you can work from anywhere, right? You can work from even Uzbekistan, right? I know that this pandemic, I would definitely can tell you this pandemic helped a lot to young professionals who's in Uzbekistan to find better opportunities to work remotely for US or for European companies, right? Because those companies, they're adapting to hire more people remotely. But the what is the yes side is that remotely it's cool, right? Like it's cool. Like you can be a digital nomad basically, right? Like you can work from anywhere in the world basically, literally. But at the same time, it's hard to cooperate with your team, right? Because you're in the different time zones. You can't really wake up at 1 or 2 a.m. maybe to join your daily stand-up or some important meetings. And from that perspective, Canada again has some advantages. because it's in the same, like say, it's in the same time zones with US. It's more easier to to meet, to talk with the team, to catch up and to stay up to date while you're being in the same time zone. So yeah, from that perspective, I think it has both and pros and cons.
I see. Okay, I'll give the floor to Azbeka to the next question, and I'll bring it up to the screen. I guess you're muted.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So the next question is, what specific areas pertinent to the IT profession are more lucrative and attractive and will be attractive in the future?
Well, yeah, IT profession, the IT itself is very big area, right? So you don't really have to be a software engineer, right? You can be a data science, data analytic, designer, product manager. There are a lot of very different professions within IT itself, right? Well, and when we're talking about person to the IT profession, I think at the same time we are talking about something which is outside of IT, right?
Yeah.
That can be, I don't know, like say lawyers, right? Lawyers are always important,
Yeah.
especially these days. I would say when we have so many, so-called trends on the news about privacy and
Exactly.
things related to that, like how those big companies are dealing with user data, right? Like they and how they're using it, and what kind of information they're providing, what kind of service they're providing me while owning my data. Right? This is from that perspective, I think lawyers are very, very important. Next, I would say I think education as well, like teachers. Well, again, it is I don't know, like whether the IT teacher is going to be IT profession or pertinent, but in general, yeah, like teaching IT is big trend because especially these days, it's not only in US. We have like tons of boot camps, very specific schools where you can learn the software programming basics, but at the same time, it's a very big trend in Uzbekistan as well, right? Like I like when I was visiting my home country, I saw a lot of so-called centers, like learning centers, right? And even some top. I heard that, like I heard some rumors that the top learning centers, they are so-called top employers in terms of paycheck, and at the same time they have very long queues who wants to study in those centers.
Interesting.
The IT, right? So it's like if you go and ask them, hey, can I study? They tell you, hey, yeah, sure, we can sign you up, and your order is coming to next year, for example.
That's interesting. Okay, if I go to the next question, and that would be, what advice and recommendation can you give to our friends who intend to study in IT in Canada or enter to Canadian IT tech market to work? If you also stop on, for example, the companies you recommend as advice, also how they should start and what should they think about, and also do they need to think about remote work as well? Not only maybe Canada working from Canada, maybe just working remotely, but for a Canadian market. I expanded a little bit the question, but if you can cover these parts as well. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. Actually, the first part of the question is about studying IT in Canada, right? Like, frankly saying, I don't have that much information about like studying in Canada, but yeah, I have studied in South Korea. But I believe like getting a student visa and moving to another country as a student is the easiest one, right? Because what you do is just go and study, right? Basically, and this also, I believe, helps a lot to adapt to specific country, right? And I believe there are a lot of universities in Canada who can provide very high quality education for young people who wants to study IT in Canada.
Yeah.
And in the future, it's going to be a very good opportunity for them to stay and work for Canadian or maybe US companies
Yeah.
in Canada. So other than that, okay, so as a professional, so basically, I believe you need a few years of work experience, right? Like if you want to enter the Canadian market, that's going to be at least 2 or 3 years on a modern technologies and modern stacks, right? And and that's a bit tricky part, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not sure if young professionals say for example in Uzbekistan they have good enough opportunities, but they need to work hard. That's I guess that's the only thing I can share at this point. Just look for opportunities, look for a better challenges that can help you to grow, right? So just grow professionally, personally, so that at some point, because the time flies, right? Like you say for example,
Exactly.
you just graduated university somewhere in Tashkent, for example, and you are just starting to enter the market, and current requirements in Uzbekistan markets might be different, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and what you just need to do, focus on learning new things. Focus, never back out with, like, never look for easier way, right? Like just go and study things. If you don't know, don't hesitate to ask. If you fail, don't hesitate to look for the help, right? But
Absolutely.
stay focused and earn this experience, right?
Yeah.
If the current company or if the current opportunities are not meeting your goals, are not meeting your needs, is not good enough, challenging, look for new, right? Look for outside, look for remote opportunities.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy. Like I can recall myself, like when I was just starting my own career, right? And at some point I was telling myself, hey, I'm not going to be a software developer, right? Like I was
Yeah.
like, hey, I felt like when I was studying my bachelor degree, uh, tech stack by Microsoft was quite famous, and there was a .NET framework very firstly released, and we were really studying hard, like learning these Windows forums, Windows application. There was no mobiles, right? And yeah, at some point I was very say disappointed maybe, and I said, hey, I'm someone who's studying telecommunication.
Yeah.
Why should I be doing this coding stuff? But like the coding was not in the university major, right? It was like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm interested in this, and I was kind of doing some extracurricular work, trying to find some projects to work on. And very first experience was not the greatest one, but
Yeah.
as it goes, as you overcome some challenges, and you grow professional, you'll start seeing the opportunities, and you will be able to manage things in a better way.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the exactly follow up to this question, I guess it makes it more specific. I wanted to ask, what are because you went through this, right? And it was a not very long time ago, pre-pandemic, and you it must be still fresh, and you talk to your friends, and maybe people reach out to you, and you know this. What are the best tools and platforms would you recommend using finding a job? What else should our young friends consider when they search for a job in Canada as IT professionals? We talked more at length already about this, but like all of those tools or platforms, should they look at the resume, or like should they create some portfolio, some website where they can show, right? So a little bit more specifics if you can.
Yeah, just everything what you have said, like resume. Of course, it's having a good resume with nice listed up projects, GitHub repos, the code references. It's definitely something must have.
Mm-hmm.
The next is, yeah, like your maybe personal website or some cool stuff that you have done maybe within the you know your main job, or maybe it could be a side project, right? Like anything that shows up, hey, you're a good professional, just bring it up, right? Specific platforms, yeah, there are a few websites like monster.com,
Mm-hmm.
vanhack.com.
Okay.
Those websites, I believe they do provide some good opportunities, but again, it's hard. It's because there are a lot of people applying to those jobs, to those vacancies, and it's all over the world, right? So, but just I guess just keep trying and don't give up, right? And also those people, they can look for jobs on a company websites as well, right? Like whether it's Amazon, whether it's a Google, or it doesn't have to be like tier one companies. Like there are tier two companies as well, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
so even those companies, it can be a local Canadian company, or it can be US company who is hiring for their offices in Canada. Just keep applying, keep applying.
Yeah, great. And you mentioned about and we all mentioned a couple of times about Canadian startups, and we know that there are not so many, but there are a couple of unicorns that already made their names even worldwide. I can name two that I'm always interested in, look after them, which is Shopify, one, and another one is Clio, which is I believe it's Vancouver based, but it's for lawyers. They creates kind of CRM and gives all the features and cloud kind of only for lawyers, because it's in my area, and I know it. And there are actually the biggest player in US than US itself can provide a product. Imagine Canadian companies, the number one in that area for lawyers, then it's internal any market players. I mean, at least this is my knowledge. Can you share a few others if you know that you would recommend people which are Canadian? If it doesn't come to your mind right away, that's fine. We can
Yeah,
leave it.
I know Shopify as well. I
Mhm.
know Shopify. Well, very Canadian. It's very hard to find any very Canadian, because even Shopify, I believe they have.
They're
I'm
huge
not
already
sure.
become, but
Yeah,
they
it's
started in
huge.
Canada.
What I want to say is like, okay, Shopify is Canadian company, but I believe they have development team in somewhere in California. I don't have any.
They
Yeah,
have
they
across
yeah.
the world already. They become big, but I mean they started in Canada. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, nothing comes at this moment very
Hmm.
specific, but yeah, I know I know that there are Canadian startups who started in Canada. Like, say for example, Modo, right? Like the car sharing company,
Mm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's I believe it's Canadian, and
Yeah.
it is available in US as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and if you can provide the list, we can share it in our channel and in our Telegram channel, everywhere else. Thank you for that. And I guess we are really good in timing because we planned an hour, and we're at the 55-minute rank right now. So, but thankfully that there are so many people follow and listen to us, and they were logging in and listening to us. And I received very good questions um, from one of our subscribers whose name is Sivra Ravshanova. She has two questions. I will bring up the first one, if you can briefly answer to this one. And she has very, very good second question. So I'll bring next one. So what skills or qualities do employers usually seek from applicants during interviews? So we don't want you to go and disclose what Amazon does, because that would be might be you're already disclosing something. But maybe that's already available online. So many YouTube channels all talk about this. But if you just ask and share a little bit your knowledge.
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. Well, most tech companies they look for uh, basics, right? In terms of computer science and like very specifically, they like interviews are usually uh, require you knowledge in algorithms and data structures.
Okay.
Yeah, like yeah, like I'm pretty sure like tier one and most of the tier two companies they would require you, hey, they would ask you specific question which you need to implement and code it up and then eventually have some working code on a whiteboard or in a notepad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Meaning, hey, what you need to do is you go and study very basics, right? Like it's a computer science basics. It's algorithms, data structures, it's object oriented design and things like that. Right? Smaller companies, I'm not sure about Canada, but usually what smaller IT companies they would look for very specific skills. Like for example, if their tech stack is based on Python, they would be definitely looking for Python developers, and they would expect you to write some, I don't know, some code, some classes or whatever in Python, and then go into some specific language specifics, right? But big tech companies they don't check that, and they expect you to know very basics of the computer science so that you can come to the team or you can come to the company and catch up during onboarding
I
process,
see. Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm. That's good. Such a good insight. So for those who are going to be watching us or who are watching us, please enjoy these all the knowledge from the person who works in Amazon. I don't think I wish I had that kind of opportunity if I wanted to work in the American company when I was young, and I had a chance to talk to directly to someone who works in the big law firm, right, or something like that, or a big company. That's great, but Severa, because I guess she's in this area, she asked very interesting and specific question, which I hear a lot about boot camps. What you think about that? What do you think about boot camp courses in Canada? Do you think they can provide good tech knowledge, or do the young people need to look some other areas, places?
Frankly saying, I don't know any of the bootcamp course in Canada.
Okay.
And even even I know any bootcamp course in any place. I would know all of them as a online, right? So everything is
Hmm.
online right now. So what I would strongly recommend is, yeah, just wherever you are, just go online and learn things and apply what you have learned,
Hmm.
whether
Hmm.
it's a project within the course or whether it's a project outside of the course, but keep doing things, right? So that you can grow, right? Because once you attend some boot camp, if you don't go and practice, it's nothing, it's no use,
Hmm.
right?
I
But
see.
yeah, just look for some apply, like look for opportunities to apply what you have learned. I think that's
Or
very
you,
important.
or if I make a conclusion, so you basically can start boot camp, but you need to at the same time looking for a job, so you can quickly switch and start working if you had a chance to find a job, right? So if
Yeah,
you learn
that's true,
from,
but
huh?
I am not really sure. Like, yeah, like for smaller companies, maybe as a bootcamp graduate, you can get some opportunities, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But at the same time, yeah, I believe that you can just think about anything, right? Like just if you're studying some mobile development, just go and develop some mobile applications, right? Like just log into some Play Market, look for some app, like I don't know,
Yeah.
say for example tomato, right? Like this, there is a method like which you focus for 25 minutes and you rest for 5 minutes, right? Just go make some applications which can help you to do this, right? Like just
Yeah.
it's not like you don't look for, hey, this is something already exists there, or this doesn't bring any incentive, or it doesn't make any money. Just you focus on applying your skills, right? Or if you I don't know, make some weather application. I don't know, if you are interested in soccer, I don't know, make some application which can show your favorite soccer clubs, I don't know, information about your favorite soccer
Yeah.
club, right?
That's great. That's great. I would greatly thank you for joining us and sharing all of this. It was. I'm sure that people are going to benefit from this. From this our interview. I'm sure it's going to continue being on the online, and that people can look and learn um, and share. So thank you so much for joining us. Just wanted to highlight that we don't have any more questions from our guests, and we don't have any other questions left for you from Drive Canada. Um, just wanted to highlight it, and then if you, Azbek, have a few words, and you have any Miradham, and then I guess we can soon conclude our today's interview. Azbek.
Thank you so much, Murat, for allocating your time, to sharing your experience. It was very wonderful interview, I believe, and it will be very helpful for our, visitors and viewers, to make a proper plan, because, we always, when we make our online interview with people, we always, push them, motivate them, to study IT technology, because it's a future, comparing to other specialties. It's a growing, and you see what's happening in Canada, right? I mean, there is much opportunities, as you said. If Asian market are fast, I mean, the Canada, even though it's a developed country, but on some aspects it's still, just on the starting phase, or and specifically if you have like more IT guys here, they have more like a fresh mind, fresh blood here, bringing some new technologies and building some new startups, and so that's why I think this interview was very helpful, useful for every one of us, and thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you soon again.
Sure.
Thank you. Miradham, a few words.
Yeah, definitely. It was a very nice talking to you, and hopefully, what I have said and what I have kind of recommended makes sense for your viewers. Um, yeah, just feel free to reach out. I'm available on the LinkedIn. It will be my pleasure if there will be more people, more young people who is interested in engineering and especially in software industry. And best of luck for young people, for your listeners, and for both of you as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Miradham. And absolutely, I will share your LinkedIn in our channels. That will be available everywhere. Thank you so much for joining us today, both our viewers and you guests. Thank you so much. Here we'll end our broadcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.